People come into your life throughout your life, but only a few leave a footprint on your heart. He's still there.
That's not too bad, but this is a Torpoint school production, and that's not the kind of mediocre welcome that this cast needs.
And he'd have this amazing way of just walking around the stage and chatting as if he was just talking to friends, and it was all very informal.
And it's worth pointing out that we have not had one rehearsal during school time.
He had a very unique way of almost like being one of us.
These poor children have their playing their little hearts out, and it's been a very, very long week for all of us.
Viv had the capacity to make you feel like you mattered.
Now, we know that some of you are VIPs tonight, and we want you to try and forget that you're very important people tonight.
Everything I do today is all down to Viv.
Did ever dreams come true?
Yes.
If only. If it was true that you could look up at the stars and find your lucky star and make a wish on that star, and that dream would then come true, what would you wish for?
Viv gave me this breadth of vision of the world in terms of what you could be. You can be much bigger than you think you possibly can be.
I want you to imagine now there's a little village called Dingley Dangley Dell. And in Dingley Dangley Dell, everybody's wishing for the lottery and things like that, except for one little child. And what does she wish for? Yeah!
My first memories of being at Torpoint School was this chap I didn't know called Viv Hendra, and he somehow found me. I don't know, can't remember where he found me, but he found me in a classroom somewhere, and he said, "Mark, come with me." And so I followed him along this corridor, and I followed him down towards the canteen where we had lunch, and said, "Mark, I want to introduce you to somebody. This is Jason." And that was just such an amazing moment in my life, because he played electric guitar and he was in these amazing bands, and he kind of like showed me all these new techniques on the guitar, and yeah, it was like a kind of a musical big brother, and that introduction was really life-changing for me. I suddenly found myself in all these kind of events, like I was playing at assembly and I was playing in party pieces and things like that. I can't remember how it happened, but suddenly Viv was there and suddenly I was doing things, which for me was amazing, because without that, when I was at school, when I was, 10, 11 or whatever it was, I was very quiet and shy, and I never would have, naturally wanted to get on stage and play or anything like that. That kind of set the foundation for the rest of my music career, giving me that confidence to do that.
The first time I met Viv, I was in primary school actually at Carbeal, and I had just finished performing in The Sound of Music here at the Theatre Royal in Plymouth, and he asked me to perform ahead of me joining Torpoint School in his Night of 1,000 Stars. And I remember singing Edelweiss, so I was probably about 9, 10 years old, and that was the first time I met him. And I just remember thinking what an incredible person he was, so full of life and enthusiasm, and he just loved everything about performance and theatre, and he just knew how to enthuse people. I do very often, in difficult times in my career, think back to how he made me feel, and that has carried me through so much, because you need those people that champion you, and he was able to do that for so many students, and he did for me so much so that it stayed with me always.
This video was taken on the 11th of July 1986. This video now presents to you Black Horizon.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the hour of the power.
I left school with no qualifications to speak of, but I left school with confidence as a musician. And it was through the experiences with Black Horizon, mostly. But the essence of it is that Viv organised this group. It was his project, basically. He pulled us together and we did our sort of debut, if you like, at Party Pieces. For me, it was like a sort of a marker in my life in terms of like a stamp of, yes, that's what I'm doing, and isn't that great? But there are many of us around the world who are grateful and thankful for the influence that Viv had on us when we were young and impressionable. We arrived as a family from Portsmouth. My father worked in the dockyard, and I'd gone to school with my mum, and we'd met the teachers and the headmaster and Viv Hendra. And Viv said, we're having a Party Pieces, an Easter Party Pieces. I sat there with my mum and my dad in that Party Pieces, and there was a young man called Barnwell playing classical guitar, which is what I was doing. And to see someone so young and sitting there alone playing to quite a sizable audience that were crammed into that hall was really inspiring. So whilst Mark says that I inspired him, well, actually, before we'd even met, Mark had inspired me, and and I remember arriving at the school thinking to myself, wow, I'm in the right place. Isn't it amazing? There's a guy playing Spanish guitar like me. Fantastic, The last time I had contact with Viv was the summer of 2021. We had just moved back to France from Bahrain, and we were in the throes of moving in, so we had boxes everywhere. And I got my guitar out, or my harp guitar out, and a video camera, and made him a video to cheer him up in hospital. And I told some stories and played a bit of music and sent it via WhatsApp. And we had a bit of a back and forth chat for a couple of days, and I knew he wasn't doing very well at all. but he was just in amazing spirits, as always. But I think the most profound message from him was the last one he sent to me, where he said, Jason, hasn't it been amazing that we have both been alive at the same time? And I mean, it was so moving, and someone who, you know, knew, I think he passed away a couple of days later, but someone who, you know, knows they're leaving this earth and yet still has this incredible positive perspective on life and friendship. It's just amazing.
When you're with an artist like Viv Hendra, whose artistry was in his ability to believe in people, the ricochets not only in your self-esteem and the idea that you might be an artist are immense, but also then he reframes and reshapes the understanding of what teaching can be. He had an ability to attend to every single child as if they were a genius, and he just had to draw it out of them.
Creativity in school in education is vital. It can lead to so many other things. You know, we do not all fit in a box, and we shouldn't expect children to fit in a box. So his passion inspired others. Whether it was the same passion as yours, whether I wasn't musical, I really didn't want to be on the stage. But he inspired me to get involved. I can't think of anybody else like Viv, and I hope he knew while he was alive the impact he had on so many people.
In order to just make sure that we're feeling suitably relaxed, can you imagine to yourselves you've already had the most wonderful evening, and have some really enthusiastic applause? Hooray!
Not to overstate it, but he was like sort of a third parent, really, in the sense that mine did loads of great things for me and started me off on many great things and did all the usual nuts and bolts of life. But Viv gave me this breadth of vision of the world in terms of what you could be. You know, we grew up in a small town in Cornwall. You know, not necessarily a lot going on sometimes. And, you know, he was just like, there's a big old world out there. I was involved in, you know, theatre from a young age with him. We were involved in a band together and got opportunities to play like massive gigs all over the place. But also just seeing that, you know, there was a big wide world out there. He introduced me to the idea of like going to university, all that sort of thing, arranged like visits and whatnot, and just was like, you know, you can be much bigger than you think you possibly can be.
We've been putting this together every lunchtime and every after school for the whole term. What you're seeing here is the product of hours and hours of work. Not one split second of school time has gone into any aspect of this. Everybody has come in voluntarily after school, never a crossword. It's been the most wonderful time, and so they're going to be terribly disappointed if you just sit there being sort of polite all evening. So if you feel like a big loud cheer at any time, can we have a loud cheer now? Do you get that sort of thing? Yeah.
To me, he wasn't really what you would call a bog standard textbook teacher. He had some kind of way about him that he kind of like got inside, rather than preaching down or across. He had a way of delivering his teaching style that didn't feel like he was being, you know, he was lecturing us. You know, he had a very unique way of almost like being one of us.
Don't you ever forget that you are born of the stars, born of the stars, furnished by sun, inspired by laughter, born of the stars, formed of the stardust.
sunshine and after all love. So be glad, glad to be living, glad of the stardust, glad just to be born of the stars. Born of the stars.
He was just a bundle of love and joy and happiness. It just made you feel special, made you feel warm, always so positive. I remember talking about him to a friend years ago, but after I'd left school, and saying I'd like to be like Viv Hendra, because there just wasn't any negativity in him at all, and it was just natural. He just was naturally kind, unique, totally unique. I mean, most people you see their good side, but you see their bad side and you see their temper. I never saw anything negative in Viv at all. If only everyone could be like Viv, it'd be a better world.
I think the productions that we put that Viv Hendra used to put on in school, well, it was accessible to everyone. So you had your dancers, you had your dance students, and you had your music students, and you had all those that did different activities in different places. It brought together all those different groups of students with the different talents into that one creative project. Being at school, having a teacher like Viv Hendra who was always had an infectious personality, was always positive, was always he always had ideas. He always seemed to be doing something. He always had something. Oh, I've had this, or I've got that, and can we do this? And I've got this vision. And when you grow up with someone like that, then it's going to stick to you.
For people who don't know Viv, I think it's really good for them to hear some of these stories that we're talking about and to see that it doesn't matter where you are, if you're in a small school in Cornwall or anywhere in the world, it's you that's got to be that person who inspires people and gives them these opportunities, because if you don't, who will? And make them get up and do things, because sometimes people need that little bit of a push just to go out and seize that opportunity, and you need to be the one to give them to them. And Viv was very much that person for so many people in this area. And now there's people all over the world who have got some stories to tell about Viv and how he helped them and inspired them. And I definitely am one of those people. And now I can see that I'm really trying my best to channel my inner Viv and be that person who inspires other people.
None of you here is not driven through life by some dream. Dreams based on hopes, based on wishes, on stars that you'll never find. Hope against hope.
The things that we talked about very much were the shows, because that's what really mattered to us, or the concerts, or the next production. And there was a bit of friendly rivalry which we enjoyed. He'd do a show, and then I'd do the next one, then he'd do one. And we were always just hoping to outdo one another, but it was all done in, very good faith. I suppose that, with his shows, he had this remarkable ability to capture children's imaginations.
But me, as for me, a man who can spin.
And did you get what you wanted from this life, even so? I did. And what did you want? To call myself beloved, to feel myself beloved on this earth. And I felt that was how Viv was. He loved and was beloved, wasn't he?
He could never remember when to put out the rubbish or the recycling. And so he asked us to phone him and tell him.
I think I was walking up Lemon Street and I saw a new gallery had opened. And I walked up the steps and there was this bust of Queen Victoria and I thought, oh, a bit quirky. I went in, walked around, and then this fellow came down the stairs with a tray and tea things on it. Would you like a cup of tea, he said. And I joined him for a cup of tea and we talked about teaching and Cornwall and art and had a lovely conversation.
It is a regret of my life that I didn't meet him, not least because everybody who did comes out saying what a spirit for good he was and how much joy he brought to anyone who came in contact with, me included. So I was sitting here waiting for the pleasure of taking him to the House of Lords, showing him the pictures he'd chosen for me, and it never happened. And it's a genuine regret in my life. I can see that he would, if someone had come up and said, I want to be the biggest worm collector on earth, he'd have said, right, I know where you can find your first worm. He wouldn't have said, don't you think there's something else you can do? He would have gone with you. And that's what I loved about him.
There were aspects of him that I just didn't know. It wasn't until, well, after he'd gone that I realised that he'd had things performed in London, and that, you know, this Man for All Seasons.
The most beautiful, beautiful song.
Yeah, I think everybody who heard that could feel that he was singing to them. If you wanted something that defined him, I think it would be that.
Especially, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Especially, I'll be there. Because then we feel he's with us anyway, don't we? But that is such a beautiful line in that song.
Yeah. Now, don't start crying, but it would be very easy to do at this moment.
It's that song.
I'll be with you in the springtime and birds begin to sing time. I'll be there. And when summer sends fresh flowers and long hot sultry hours, I'll be there. Then when autumn turns leaves golden, each morning is a golden, I'll be there. When winter draws its curtain, you may be certain, sure you can, that a man for all seasons am I. When it's springtime, there's a whole new world beginning. Spring onions start their springing everywhere, just like me. There are crisper days adorning, earlier each morning, Easter morn it's on, and suddenly autumn, and the world has golden beauty, and nature's ripe and fruity everywhere, just like me. Gather leaves for autumn burn-ups, we shall tiptoe through the turnips, Halloween lanterns on, and suddenly autumn has gone. And it's winter, and the morning fog still lingers, Jack Frost has got his fingers everywhere, just like me. And beneath the mistletoe, we shall laugh how seasons go, Santa outfits on, and suddenly winter has gone. But I'll be with you in the springtime, and birds begin to sing time, I'll be there. And when summer sends fresh flowers and long hot sultry hours, I'll be there. Then when autumn turns leaves golden, each morning is a colden, I'll be there. And when winter draws its curtain, you may be certain, sure you can, that a man full of seasons am I. Oh, spring and summer and autumn and winter, I will still be
There are so many great stories about how the relationships between teachers and students has built confidence and left a stamp on our lives that lasts forever. And so I think the Viv Hendra story is a better story. And I do think that we need to hear those stories because they're so important.
Very good. Have you got what you want?
I think we're good.
Now, it's very kind of you to applaud. I'm more interested in the £10,000 he promised me. What are you laughing about?
I thought you were giving it to us.
What?